Hopefully you're going to be thanking me because Black Friday deals have come early for CityCast Chicago listeners. The auditorium is giving you, yes, you, the person listening right now, pay attention. They want to give you early access to their annual Black Friday ticket sale. All you got to do is use code CityCast to get 25% off tickets to shows like Home for the Holidays with Sleeping at Last, Drumline Live, Arrival from Sweden, the music of ABBA, and more. This is a limited time offer while supplies last, my friends, now through November 30th. Visit auditoriumtheater.org and use code CityCast for 25% off select tickets. Today on CityCast Chicago, 9 teens were injured and 1 lost their life in a shooting in the Loop over the weekend. Cook County keeps guaranteed income in the budget for next year. And what to know about Thanksgiving week in Chicago. It's Tuesday, November 25th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. We've got our super producer, Michelle Navarro, back in the building with us. Michelle, how you feeling today?
Hey, Jacoby, I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Before we get into it, I want to give you a huge congratulations, a virtual round of applause. I listened to your most recent audio essay published in this weekend's This American Life episode. I mean, listening to you kind of recap what it has been like living under Operation Midway Blitz. Obviously, I've been here next to you for the last few months, but to kind of hear you process it was really emotional. And I just want you to know, I want all of our listeners to know that they can go find that link in our show notes. But I'm very proud of you, my friend, for sharing that story and the story of so many in your life.
Oh, thank you so much, Jacoby. I appreciate it.
We are starting today's conversation with, unfortunately, a very heartbreaking story. For the last few weeks, we had been promoting the tree lighting ceremony in Millennium Park. Every year, it is an exciting time for families and Chicagoans to come together. I have seen it a few times over the last few years, and it sucks when the story of the night is as tragic as this one was. I woke up to the news on Saturday morning and my heart broke for all of the families impacted, all of the young people impacted, all of the folks who were down and around Millennium Park and the Chicago Theater who were and will be impacted by the shooting that took place Friday night. Michelle, can you kind of remind us of some of the details?
Yeah, so 9 teenagers were shot downtown right after the Millennium Park annual Christmas tree lighting. 7 were injured in a mass shooting near the Chicago Theater. The ages were ranging from 13 to 17. And then about less than an hour later, a few blocks away, there was another shooting where 2 people were shot, one being a 14-year-old boy who was killed. His name was Armani Floyd. Armani was part of a youth basketball organization called Project Swish. The founder of the program, McKinley K. Nelson, told ABC7 that, he was a kind kid, a great player, and a great student. And so our heart goes out to the family and the friends of Armani. It's tragic, like you mentioned, to wake up to that kind of news. I can't imagine what it's like to be a parent, a sibling, to wake up to that news. Mayor Brandon Johnson told ABC7 that they had known that a large group would meet downtown because it was posted all over social media. Aside from the thousands of people we expect downtown during the holidays, during these, large kind of holiday events like the annual tree lighting. But Mayor Brandon Johnson said that they expected this, what we usually are so calling it, these teen takeovers. He called it an unauthorized event, that a lot of teens on social media, a lot of young people were posting about this, promoting it.
I saw a video during the week, last week, of a kid who was dancing and talking about, we all gonna be downtown for the tree lighting. Everybody gonna be downtown this weekend. And you could already see then in the comments the sort of mix of people who, some Chicagoans like, oh, we not gonna be there, or, we don't want them there. Or some people, standing up for the kids, being like, hey, everybody want to see the tree lighting. There are thousands of young people out there, and they not all coming out there to get in fights or to argue with each other or to pull out guns and shoot. Like, that's not what they're all there for. And it's unfortunate every time one of these gatherings ends with somebody injured or somebody's life taken, because I hear and have heard from other kids, other teenagers who like know that it is a potentially more volatile situation, but still do just want to go downtown and have fun with their friends, and are hoping for the best. And it sucks in those moments when it doesn't turn out that way.
Yeah, Johnson said himself that, it was supposed to be a joyous night and some people came with bad intentions. And they had added an additional 700 police officer presence in and around the loop. There was also violence intervention workers, according to Mayor Brandon Johnson. There was an estimated 20,000 people downtown that night. And so, these 700 officers, weren't just accounted for this specific, quote unquote teen takeover. It was more so just, there was a lot of people being expected downtown with the tree lighting. And then of course, talks of this gathering happening downtown. These quote unquote teen takeovers, there's been this nuanced conversation surrounding them, this idea of, teens deserve places and spaces where they can gather and they have things to do, third places, etc. And then you have other people say, these large, quote unquote, unauthorized events can be dangerous, like this example. And so because of that, there's been conversation about snap curfew earlier this year. We talked to the tribe's Tonya Hill and Corley J about what the snap curfew could mean for Chicago youth. As a reminder, a snap curfew would give Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling the power to implement and enforce a curfew on minors at any moment, at any location. The bill passed in City Council, then Johnson vetoed it, and an attempt to override the veto failed back in July. And so this conversation has been ongoing. Alder Brian Hopkins of the Second Ward was someone who kind of pushed for this snap curfew. He took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to talk about the shooting, alleging that there was rioting and looting, though there's no confirmed reports of that happening before or after the shootings. And so it seems like this kind of conversation is going on again. When ABC 7 reporter asked Johnson about, does this make him kind of think back to, whether a snap curfew should be something they should implement, he kind of turned the focus into, he wants Chicago to continue to invest in youth programs to avoid large gatherings that, are unsupervised and can get violent like this. He hopes to promote, investments in mental health and CP and, in the Chicago Public School District. And so it seems like Johnson is still, standing his ground and saying that isn't the solution. Giving Superintendent Larry Snelling this power to, call a curfew on minors at any moment is still something that a lot of advocates say would not be a good idea and would not address it, because, then where are we pushing these teens to? It just kind of feels like we're just protecting the loop, protecting downtown from teenagers going to them. And so there's a lot of mixed reviews. Of course, at the end of the day, we've had Chicago youth get injured. One unfortunately lost his life. And so this really just kind of goes back to the conversation of, where can Chicago youth gather in safe and ways where they can be cared for and supervised, and where, people who have bad intentions don't get to those groups. I remember when we had the Chicago Tribune's Jake Sheridan talk about this on one of our Friday News Roundups when the snap curfew debate was going on, and he said that an important note too is that these gatherings aren't all teenagers, they're all not youth, and I think that is something to remember when we call them quote unquote teen takeovers. Like, it's not just 13 to 17-year-olds in the mix. And so it's something that, in order to protect Chicago youth, finding, investing in in youth programs, in employment opportunities, internships, scholarships, these things really do, provide that kind of safety for kids so that they're not, going to these events where they probably are just trying to go to the tree lighting and have fun, in the city center. And these things get in the way of that.
Yeah. The young people over at Good Kids Mad City, which is a sort of Black and brown youth-led organization that tries to promote, getting young people involved in different events happening in the city, putting on events for themselves, getting young people involved in the political process, organizing. And, they held an event that same night, and they put a post out that next morning like the rest of us, heartbroken about the news that happened, and really just continue to, one, remind people to have empathy in this moment. Like, young people were hurt. A young person lost their life. And so don't immediately rush to the shaming of parents, the shaming of sort of young people at large, but to rather to hold space for those people who are impacted, and to continue for the city to be vigilant and providing other spaces for young people, alternative places for them to be and to gather. Our hope is that the people who did shoot into these crowds, who did take the life of Armani, we find out who these individuals are. But I also hope, as Mayor Johnson showed in his interviews over the weekend, that we can try and understand that this is a tragic reality of living in our city, a city that is overrun by guns illegally or legally obtained, that we live in a society that has glorified guns to the point that our young people, right, they can't see themselves. Some of them can't see themselves without them. And so we have to remain vigilant about getting as many of these illegal guns off of our streets, about providing teenagers with alternative places to be, reimagining what conflict management and resolution looks like. This time of year is about tradition for people, and you can make Symphony Center a part of yours. From radiant choral harmonies to unforgettable orchestral moments, Symphony Center helps bring your traditions to life. You can experience the pure magic of Chanticleer's holiday concert, spanning ethereal chant to spirited gospel, or partake in familiar carols and festive favorites at Merry Merry Chicago, Symphony Center's annual holiday extravaganza, and revel in the timeless artistry of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra with performances that capture the wonder of the season. Discover the joy in every note, find your perfect holiday program, and get your tickets today at cso.org/holidays. Irving Berlin's classic holiday movie White Christmas is being brought to life live on the Paramount stage with all the flair that makes it an unforgettable experience. I'm talking epic dance numbers, fantastic costumes, all the pageantry and spectacle you've come to know and love from this iconic production. This family favorite brings generations together to celebrate the magic of the holidays. White Christmas now through January 11th in downtown Aurora. Get your tickets today at ParamountAurora.com. Over the last few weeks, we've talked a lot about the ongoing battle in City Council for Chicago to get its budget through. We are 30 some odd days from that forthcoming deadline, but we haven't spent a lot of time looking over at Cook County, who late last week got a $10 billion budget pass, and something that they were able to get approved inside this budget, a very small piece, but was additional funding for their guaranteed income program, which 3 years ago, when they were doing a pilot, was the largest in the state and one of the largest the country had ever seen at that point. Michelle, what are some of the details?
The county will be providing funds for low-income families who have been impacted by federal budget cuts and inflation. So their hope is that this monthly payment will provide relief. Like you mentioned, Cook County was the first to launch its Promise Guaranteed Income Pilot back in 2022. This program provided $500 monthly to 3,000 residents over 2 years.
So yeah, that $42 million helped out about 3,200 families, providing about $500 in monthly cash payments for a period of 2 years. That started in about October 2022. Payments went out in December, and that ran through December 24. Earlier this year, they released some findings that said about 75% of the people who received that payment reported feeling more financially secure. 94% experienced a financial emergency or unexpected expense and used the program funds to directly manage it. 73% believe the payments will continue to impact them after the program ends. and 70% said the program had a positive impact on their mental health. A couple of years ago, about halfway through the program, we sat down with Dr. Eve L. Ewing to talk about these guaranteed income pilot programs that were happening not just in Chicago and Cook County, but across the country. And what we were learning was giving people at a time in which they are struggling, maybe to put food on the table, to pay and keep up with healthcare costs, to put their kids through school, that just giving people money that is unencumbered by all of these restrictions that we're seeing the federal government now try to place on top of our healthcare subsidy programs, on top of SNAP benefits and more, that if you just give people money, they are likely to use it to sustain themselves, to put food on the table, to save, to, you know, maybe give gifts to their kids, right? To put Thanksgiving meals on the table. And so it is a really good look for the county, but a really great piece of news that, you know, at least $7.5 million will be budgeted in 2026. So I think people are still wondering how many families will be able to receive this type of payment. Will it still be $500? Will they try to get it to the same amount of people, but just lessen the overall payment? And so I am still interested in seeing what the details are. But the fact that we are making this permanent, that we're finding alternative ways to get just more money into people's pockets who need it the most across our city, I think that's a very big deal. And my hope is that the city of Chicago can find a way to get back to funding a guaranteed income program. Because if we learned anything from the applications, when these things went live years ago, there were far more people who signed up than who are going to be able to get a payout. And if that made anything clear, you know, Chicagoans appreciate these types of programs. And so I'm hoping we can find that kind of money. Again, I know we talked last week about Chicago's budget battle, and, you know, whether it's 7 million or 100 million, finding money in our budget is obviously hard pressed. But I think the county is really modeling what it looks like to prioritize these kinds of programs. And so much of the larger $10 billion budget is about providing some protection to people who receive the type of federal services that are getting cut at this moment. And so,
yeah, highly recommend to listen to the Guaranteed podcast series with Eve L. Ewing, where, you know, Eve kind of follows the different individuals and families and how their lives are impacted when they receive these payments. You know, she notes that some people were able to open a home daycare, you know, investing in something that ends up making more money for yourself. Some people went back to school, others seeking healthcare. I mean, we know what it's like when you have a sudden financial emergency, you know, a loved one gets sick, an unexpected hospital bill, an accident, you have to travel to see family because something happened. And so knowing that these families had this kind of relief, the fact that, you know, one of the findings is that a lot of people found so much, had this positive effect on their mental health. It just reminds you how money and just like how bills and money can cause such a strain on our health. And so I'm happy that, you know, there will be some Chicagoans and some people in the county that, you know, will be able to get this money soon, hopefully in the next coming months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said the top reported uses of the money was food, rent, utilities, and transportation. Things we're all trying to get a little bit more money to deal with. And so we'll drop a link in the show notes so you can read more about the findings from Cook County's Guaranteed Income Pilot. You already know what time of year it is. Toy soldiers, sugar plums, and a rat king. The Joffrey Ballet's The Nutcracker is making its way back from December 5th through the 28th at Lyric Opera House. Joffrey's Nutcracker is one of Chicago's most beloved holiday traditions. Join Marie and her Nutcracker prince on a fantastical adventure in Tony Award-winning Christopher Wheeldon's kaleidoscope reimagining set amidst the spectacle of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Marie awakes one Christmas Eve to be swept away by a flurry of snowflakes to the dreamlike fairgrounds of the world's Columbian Exposition, and she embarks on a magical adventure you'll never forget. Seriously, the Trib calls it unforgettable. Tickets for the Nutcracker are on sale now at joffrey.org. With the Thanksgiving holiday right around the corner, Michelle, what are you looking forward to? What are you watching for? I know it's supposed to be getting a little bit colder as the week goes on.
Tonight and into Wednesday, there is a cold front coming with windy conditions. As of now, Thursday is expected to be in the low to mid 30s during the day,
Ooh.
hitting 16 at night. Of course, it's a little too early to predict, but I'm sure that will probably be accurate. Mid 30s is when I start bringing out the puffer, like the
Mm-hmm.
serious, like insulation pants, maybe some extra pants under, you know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
I've been holding off to dress that warmly, but I feel like at this point, I'm not going to really have another option. And so prepare for that coldy, windy Thanksgiving time. It is a good time to be cozy, though, especially after a nice meal with family. And so I'm kind of looking forward to that because I do have a bunch of sweaters that I just brought out. So I am kind of
Mm-hmm.
excited to wear them. But those negatives, I could see them in the distance, which I'm not happy about. A meteorologist told the Chicago Tribune that this week might end with some snow, though again, it might be too early to predict. Though that would be really nice for a long weekend. I think some snow at the end of it would be kind of nice.
Easy to say that when you hear and you don't gotta fly back out to wherever you live.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
got a
true.
I had a bunch of family members coming in over the next few days. I got an aunt coming in today, which is apparently the busiest day. They're expecting it to be the busiest travel period for Thanksgiving in 15 years. Well, nationwide, with more than 52,000 flights expected to take off today, and just I think like 500 departures a day at O'Hare. And so I've got people coming in all week, including I think my latest family arrival is like 12 o'clock on Thursday, which was probably unimaginable a couple of weeks ago when she bought the ticket. And so I'm glad that, she ain't going to be, because she coming from Houston too, where we got all of them videos of them terrible lines. And so I'm glad it's not 2 weeks ago. Glad that at least that part of the government shutdown is over. On Thanksgiving, do you get involved in any of the other, I don't know about you, like I didn't realize, I talked with somebody a couple of weeks ago. Apparently it's the most active day for runners, not just in Chicago, but across the country. Like the most amount of 5Ks and 8Ks and little mini marathons are happening. Like, do you go to the parade? Do you go out and do like turkey trots, or do you just kind of leave that to people and you just be at the crib?
I leave that to people who like running.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that actually as well, that it's such a popular day. I really hope that it's not this like weird guilt thing that people like feel bad they're gonna eat good. I don't like that. I don't, free yourself. Free yourself. Why you gotta be like that? Like, I'm just gonna enjoy the day off, honestly. Although it's tragic history of the day,
Mm-hmm.
I will take any chance I can to be grateful and to eat, with family and friends. So I'll take any day off, for that. But yeah, no. And I have friends who love running and will run any
Mm-hmm.
chance they get. Like if there's a 5K or something, they're there, and I love it and I support them for that. But nah, no, definitely not. I will probably be cleaning and running errands and doing what I can on Thanksgiving Day, and then heading to my parents' house afterwards. My mom is going to be making pozole. So,
Oh.
not the usual Thanksgiving spread, but I am looking forward to some warm pozole, especially now that I know that it's going to be so cold. I'm hoping to hit up maybe a Friendsgiving later during the weekend and getting like my Thanksgiving fixes, like my mash, my
Mm-hmm.
mac and cheese, So I'm hoping to go into a couple households that weekend and see what I could get. What about you, Jacoby? Do you go to the parade, or do you, run at all during that day?
Hell no, I ain't out there running. I may get a little workout in, but that's just cause.
I know. I mean, I hit the gym just because I have the time to take a class in the middle of the day or something.
But it's
like,
not about
I don't
the
want to
shame.
run.
Nothing to do with the shame of it all. And so I will not be running. I do have 2 Thanksgivings, and then my mom does like a Friday and Saturday thing as well. So I have a busy weekend, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's the only holiday that my family really kind of commits to. Everybody comes in, kind of takes seriously. We're not really big, not really a big Christmas or a huge Halloween family during this season. And so Thanksgiving is the one time everyone is together. I also understand across Chicago, it's a very difficult time between people who have lost folks. That makes the holidays even harder. Folks who are dealing with food insecurity. And so I appreciate how much of the Chicago ecosystem has also been about uplifting people during this season. Our friends over at Borderless Magazine have dropped a tool where people can search based on their zip code to find some of the food resources that are near them. Like near me, you've got Meals Ministry, Chicago Temple Corps Community Center, Our Lady of the Holy Family, St. Matthew Child Advocate, and that's just a few. I also know during this time, my mom loves to, when she can, box up as much food as possible for our family members, our extended family, but provide those extra meals for people in the kind of Calumet Heights, South Chicago community. Take some up to the family den, the old watering hole my grandfather used to visit. And so,
Aw, that's beautiful. Thanks, Teresa.
We will drop a link to the Borderless Magazine piece in our show notes. I want to give a huge thank you to our producer, Michelle Navarro, for making time. I hope you have a great holiday, my friend.
Thank you, Jacoby. You too.
Tomorrow, you are not just going to hear from me, but you're going to hear from all of the hosts across the CityCast universe. Yes, if you're not familiar, CityCast is not just in Chicago, but also Austin, DC, Denver, Vegas, Madison, Nashville, Philly, Pittsburgh, Portland, Salt Lake, and our newest cities, Seattle and the Twin Cities. We are doing what we call local national shopping guide. We're going to put you on some local spots across all of our cities that you can pick up some gifts, maybe for yourself, for friends, family, people in your community. It's a very fun episode. I never get to have all of my fellow hosts in one place at one time. And so it's a pleasure for me. I know it's going to be a pleasure for you. One more thing before we get out of here. Some good news. The city's winter flower shows are kicking off at the Garfield and Lincoln Park Conservatories this week. Garfield Parks is called Merry and Brights, and Lincoln Park went with Fireside. I have not missed a spring or winter flower show in years, and I don't plan on starting now. Luckily, kicks off in November, runs through January, so you got plenty of time. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace.